Um, I'm going to walk through selections from my presentation, energy, emotions, time, and essentially, this is all of our my personal self management stuff that I put a into a book and then a presentation for our business coaching folks, and then I've since turned it into lessons for our Strength Faction members as well. But I was like, hey, what better time than now to really walk through some stuff for self-management, because it's like, man, everybody's world's upside down, and it's like all the things that you normally might do or might be the things that you anchor yourself on. It could be a good time to kind of reconsider some of those things. So I have some selections that I'm going to work through, but here's the thing is, if you have questions or anything, feel free to unmute yourself and ask. And I'm happy to keep this as a dialogue as well. But, I appreciate everybody being here, and we'll walk through this. So I'm going to walk through the stuff that I think will be most applicable for folks right now. So I'm going to skip around a little bit. So just be ready for that. But I want to open up with, let's talk a little bit about the different parts of energy that we have to manage. So like when I'm saying energy, I mean how we actually, let's take a step back. Here's why I chose energy, emotions, time for this. So if you're going to manage yourself, I think these are the three big things that we have to manage. First, I say we start with energy, because if you can manage your physiological and mental state via your energy, and that means like having your habits set up right, protecting your time and protecting your energy, and also having a very distinct and intentional way that you expend it, while also taking care of all of the physiological stuff that we help our clients take care of. It's much easier to manage your emotions. So you're not as reactionary. You're not as apt to get flustered, all of those kind of things. So if we can manage our energy, we can better manage our emotions. And if we can better manage our emotions, it's much easier for us to direct ourselves at time with our priorities in order, and by making good steps forward. So that's the philosophy behind this, and why I labeled it that way, and why I've broken it down to those parts. Okay. So, I mean, the first thing we're going to start with is the protection part of time. So of energy. So we have automating, which is like creating. How are you going to create rituals and habits that work for you? Protecting is like, how do you create barriers and buffers that don't allow things to steal your time? And then there's the expressing part. And we're going to talk a little bit about that when it comes to how we're looking at intentions. And then there's recuperation, which obviously is how are you going to bring energy back to yourself? So we're going to talk about something called waiving demands. So sorry, I'm going to skip forward a little bit here. Waiving your demands. So Chris and I have a silent partner in our gym, and he owns his own company. And early last year, we were talking about how he was going to set up his work week for his employees at his company. And he was saying, hey, we're going to come in on Monday. We're going to work hard. He's like, Tuesday and Wednesday might be a little lighter. He's like, Thursday we might work hard. And then Friday, we'll do what we need to do, and then we'll call it a day. And I was like, you know what? There's something to that. Because I think one of the big things that we do is we try to overwork all the time. We try to fit too many clients in. We try to put too many things on our plate. We try to expend as much of ourselves as we possibly can. And really, it starts killing our productivity, and it kills our quality of life. So the reality is if you look at training, right? When you write a solid training program for your clients, it's usually not super linear unless that person is super duper new, right? And no matter what you do, it's going to help them, right? So like you put somebody on the Airdyne bike, if they're brand new, their bench press goes up, right? So you can do pretty much anything and somebody's going to get stronger and fitter. But that's also not the optimal way to do things. Usually it's undulation, right? So something's going to come up, it's going to go down, it's going to come up, it's going to go down. Well, that works in training because that's essentially how things work. Like everything undulates. So if it works in broad principles like that, and we apply it in training because it's broad principles, we can do the same thing with the way that we manage ourselves, our time, and our productivity. So we're going to look at our week, and I want you to I'm going to say something that is going to sound crazy that most like business leaders or folks would not tell you to do, because everybody's telling you to hustle. You got to do all these things. Just like, I don't think people should work hard every day of the work week. And I'm not just saying the days that you're off. I don't think people should work hard every day. And I'm going to walk you through exactly what I've done to structure my week over the past year and how it's really, really helped me. Okay. So the main thing I want you to grasp is there's no hard days back to back. Okay. So here's our rules. I'm going to come forward to our rules, guidelines. So I'm going to walk you back through hard days and easy days and medium days. But I want you to understand the concept first is we're not going to have any hard days back to back. Each hard day is followed by an easy or medium day. And second, there has to be at least one easy day per working week. Okay. So I want you to keep that concept in mind as we start to walk through this. So what exactly is a hard day? So a hard day, the two big things we're thinking about when it comes to this is volume and intensity. So here are the things. You're either pushing yourself to get a high volume of work done, and you're going specifically and intensely deep with your work, or both. So it's like, think about, this could be the day that you fit a bunch of clients in. Like, this could be your really long day with that. This could be your day that you're working on your big project and you really want to get a big, big, big chunk of it. But the key with these days is framing, right? You know that you can go and push super hard on this because you know the next day you're going to have some kind of a respite, right? So let's say whatever it is, big project, as many clients you want to get in, no matter what the task is, you know that you're going into this day, it's going to be long and it's going to be your hard day. Now, typically I stack this day towards the front end of the week when your energy is high. So you get in, hammer, make a bunch of progress, and then the next day we look at some kind of respite. Okay. We'll talk about how two different ways that I split this up depending on the situation of what's going on in my professional life at the time. So you got all that momentum, building and capitalizing on Monday's freshness. And then after that, we can start to look at whether an easy or a medium day might come next. But a medium day, what does that look like? So this is like your normal work day. So these are the days when you're engaged, you're working, but the intensity isn't overbearing, right? Or neither is the volume. So think about projects are getting moved forward. Important tasks are getting done, but you're not stressing yourself. So like a medium day is that normal work day where you feel like you're still making a lot of progress, you're engaged, but you're relaxed. You're not really feeling stressed by what you're trying to accomplish, okay? And then we have the next are easier days. So the way that I want you to think about these are, if you've ever gone into, let's say like during your time in the fitness industry, have you ever gone and like worked for somebody else or did some other kind of work? Like your friend asked you to come help you do something super rote. Like where I'm from, it would be something like baling hay and just throwing hay on the back of a hay wagon or something like that. But like maybe it could just be working on a farm. It could be doing some kind of repetitive task, like putting a series of things together, or it could be shoveling snow. But when you do that, stuff like that, you get to just shut your brain off, right? You just get to shut your brain off. You check the boxes and you go forward. That's what an easy day is supposed to feel like when it comes to us. Okay. So it's about shutting your brain off, checking the minimal amount of boxes, and then calling it a day. That way you feel like, hey, I got the satisfaction of like, I had these things to do. I got them done. I can shut it down and move on. But at the same time, you give yourself the time and the space to recover so that you can bring your productivity back up when you need to do it and accomplish it. And this is a long-term strategy. And the reason that I really like this and I really started playing with it is because the game is long, right? And we have to play the game as if the game is long. If we play a short game, we burn out quickly, right? Race cars don't last too long. They don't. They blow up. Their parts fall apart. But, it's okay to be a Toyota Camry sometimes. I'm joking. That's just first car came to my head. But you know what I mean? It's like race cars burn out. And we have to be able to play this game as if it's long. So we have to set up and waive our demands as if the day is long. So another thing that I want to put on your plates with this is thinking about your training as it relates to these days. So one of the rules that I've given to myself is I do not train hard on hard work days. I put my hard training on other days because I don't want to drive myself so far into the trash can that I can't come back out. So I stagger my hard workouts with my hard training days, and I make sure that hard workouts fall on easy days or medium days. So that way I'm finding an energy balance throughout the week as I work too. So let's look at a couple hypothetical schedules of what this might work for. So we have two different types of potential waving schedules. So we have a big project and we have our normal routine. So let's say you're trying to push a big project through, whether that's you're starting a new program at your gym, you're releasing some kind of a book, whatever it may be, whatever it is, you have something big that you have to get done. Here's how I lay those weeks out for me. We're getting close to deadline. Stuff has to get done. I make sure there's 2 hard days per week. So it's hard. Then I get my respite with an easy day on Tuesday, medium day on Wednesday, because then you're catching that momentum. You're pushing forward a little bit, but you're still not really tanking yourself. And you've had the respite of the easy day to kind of come back up. And then the medium day allows you to get your momentum going again. Thursday, you hit it hard, and then Friday, medium. And then you have your weekend to recover however you'd like. But this gives you the chance to get a lot of volume in with your work without totally tanking yourself. Whereas like most people would just charge, and then you find the end of that. And then you try to get back into the next week and you can't recover, and you just can't come back and really have the same level of productivity. If we want productivity consistently and over the long haul, we have to think about like things like this to waive our demands. Now, the next option is a normal routine. And this is what my normal work week looks like. Come in hard on Monday, push, either with volume or intensity. Tuesday's an easy day. And then medium. And usually Friday, if I'm being 100% with you, is kind of an easy day. I check the boxes and then I get out and go do stuff that I want to do. But this way it allows you to be really productive. You get a lot done and you don't tank yourself in the process. Okay. So this is just a simple way that we waive our demands. And I want to give you a little bit, actually, I wasn't planning on talking about this, but I figured, well, since we're here, let's talk about our day. If you're not muted, can you do me a big favor and mute yourself, because I'm hearing stuff? That would be cool. I think one of the things that we have to consider too is how we're approaching our day of work, right? So I think one of the biggest problems that people run into is that they try to do the wrong kind of work at the wrong time. So what I mean by that is, let's say that you have to do something creative and you try to force yourself to do that task when you're not really best set up to do that task. So for example, I have to do a lot of writing. It's something I've done throughout my career. And there used to be a time when I would try to force myself to write in the evening, even after I've done all this other work. So I'd have a writing block in the morning. I would try to write during the middle of the day, or I would do a bunch of work during the middle of the day, training clients, other tasks, blah, 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 whatever it might be. And then at the end, I'd be like, you know what? I didn't get as much writing done as I wanted to in the morning. So I'd come back and try to do it in the evening, and I'd be brain dead. And I couldn't really come out with the stuff that I wanted to come out with, and it would frustrate the hell out of me. So then I would end up in that process of like beating myself up because why can't you just do this, man? Like, you should be able to do this. You're a professional. But the reality is there are times that we should be doing certain types of work and we should be leaving other types of work alone. So the question I want you to pose to yourself is, when is it that I do certain types of work best? So when are you most creative? When are the times you should be doing things where you just check the boxes? When are you doing all of the, when are you the best conversationalist? And I'm going to give you a different list of questions that you can ask yourself to make sure that you're kind of structuring your workday to put yourself in the best position to be successful. So here are those questions. So at what point during the day am I most creative? Like I said before, at what point during the day do I feel locked in and flowing with tasks that just need to be checked off of my to-do list? When are you going to sail through that kind of stuff? What's the best time for you? When am I the best conversationalist? So if you have to do sales calls, if you have client consultations, and we don't always get to pick this stuff, but if we can set our schedule up to be optimal, why wouldn't we try to do that? But keeping that kind of stuff in mind. Based on what I know about how I get distracted, when is the best time for me to answer emails and check social media? So if you know that you have a tendency to get locked into emails and just get stuck on that, or on Facebook or something, and you know that you got to get stuff done, it's probably not best to kind of check that stuff first thing in the morning. I know that's not rocket surgery, but taking that a little bit of a conscious effort to that is very important. So when is the best time during the day for you to break and restore your energy and focus? When do you need some respite? And then just what do you want your day to look like? I think one of the reasons that we all kind of got into this industry, and I know things are kind of upside down right now. So it's even a weirder question. But I think we got into this industry because none of us like having a 9 to 5. I don't. I'm literally barely employable. If I didn't work for myself, things would probably be a little hairy. So it's okay for us to sit down and ask the question, what exactly do I want my day to look like? How do I put that together? And then taking that and laying over top of that all of the other questions that I just asked you. And then you can start to structure things. It might not be optimal to start, but you can at least find a place for those things in your day and make sure that you're setting yourself up to be optimal. So you can waive your demands through the week, and you can also look at waiving your demands throughout the day. Okay. Does that bring up any questions for anybody? Okay, cool. So the next thing.
Todd, hold on.
Sure.
Hey, I didn't get all the questions. Can we get them somehow later on?
Yeah, for sure. I'm sorry, I didn't see who's asking me.
This is Billy.
Yeah, of course, Billy. Absolutely. No problem at all.
Thanks, bud.
Yep. Okay. So we went through waiving our demands. Now I want to talk about kind of some energy expenditure stuff. And it's like stuff that's probably going to sound to some folks like foo-foo and new agey and stuff. But I think that this kind of stuff is really important. So one of the things that has helped me a ton is really setting a daily intention. So when I get up at the beginning of each day, my phone asks me this question. I set a reminder on my phone. It pops up. The first time I look at my phone, which isn't right away in the morning, it asks me, how am I going to live today? And I think that's an important question to ask ourselves at the beginning of each day, because that really starts to put us into a conscious effort to behave in a way that is commensurate with our values and what we want to create for ourselves. Okay. We have the option and the ability to do that. So I think if we can take the conscious effort to that, we can really do something cool. So what it does for me is it causes me to pause and deliberate about actually what I want out of my day, while considering all of the demands that, I have, the things that are needed of me. So this gives me a chance to scan the microcosm of my life, which is that day ahead, and consider the tasks and interactions that are on the docket. But it also pushes me to think bigger. So when I do this, I think about my ideal self, and I think we all have that. And if we don't, I really think it's an important thing for you to sort out, right? So who is that person that you want to be and you want to become? And so the question that it leads me to ask is, what about my ideal self? What about that person that I want to become? What would they do with this day? How would they face the work and the interactions that lie ahead in the next 24 hours? So if I can project forward and think about this person that I want to become, that I value even a little bit more than the person that I am right now, it can really even dial me in more and think about, okay, so, if I'm this guy, how does he approach this task? The one that already has his shit together better, the one that always is better and kinder with people. How does he approach all these things? And that leads me into the questions like, hey, what courses of action today would make me prouder of myself? And it might be a strange way to think about it, but like literally, if you're going to go through a day, you want to be at the end of that day and think about, hey man, like, did you do everything you could? How do you feel about the way that you behaved today? How do you feel about the way that you acted? And I think that that's an important way for us to address this. So I think it also leads us to be more specific about the individual things that we engage in throughout the day. So we can take that, how am I going to live today? And we can shrink that to the specific task that's in front of us, and we can set an intention for that. It's like, okay, so if I'm going to live this way today, I'm going to make this person that I want to become, a closer reality. How would I face this task if I'm going to do that? And it allows us to really put our energy directed into a more specific way, in a way that we would be more commensurate with the way that we want to live. So I think it's a really, really important thing for us to start doing for ourselves, if we're not already doing stuff like that. But I simply just set a reminder on my phone. And every time, the first time I look at my phone, it pops up for me. So after intentions, I want to skip forward to some stuff on the emotional aspect of things. And what I want to talk about is managing expectations. We're going to skip forward a little bit. We can come back to some of these other things if you guys want to talk about them. I just wanted to make sure that we got through some things that I thought were the highlights. Okay. So energy. right? So we want to talk about, like, if we manage our energy well, it helps us to manage our emotions better. Like, if you've ever been hungry and then got into a difficult situation, we usually know we're not the best person when we do that kind of stuff, right? So, but I think even the next biggest, or maybe even a bigger sabotager or saboteur of our energy, or I mean of our emotions, are mismanaged expectations. So that by default is going to thrust us into the unknown, which is a place that we're really not comfortable with. So we act thinking that one thing is going to become reality, when in truth we're off the mark. And in missing the mark, we end up in a place where we essentially don't know where we are. And that not knowing, while it can be exciting and fun, is also pretty anxiety provoking. And that anxiety brings about negative emotions. So solid expectation management is where we need to be. And that is akin to like an optimistic realism. And I think it really begins with the question, like, okay, so what do I truly want? What do I want? What would be the ideal? And then we have to come back and be real with ourselves and ask the question, okay, so where am I truly at right now? And both of these questions require self-honesty and some self-awareness. And it can take years to get those questions down to, like, you can answer them in a satisfactory manner. But we have to ask them to be able to answer them. We have to stay conscious with that. So we have to really, as we do this, observe our world, our actions, and the results. And then we have to notice and register them. And whether that register is written down or like exists in your minds, we have to notice. And then once we notice, we can take stock. And then once we can take stock, we can act with self-derived realistic expectations. But it starts with knowing where you're at. And then when you act and you say, okay, this was the outcome, how do I make sure that I stay in check with that all of the time? Okay, so, but it really starts with attention. The faster we start doing that, the faster we can attune our expectations to that optimistic reality and accepting things while they are, how they are, but having the confidence in our ability to continue to improve our standing. And if there's ever been a time in our lives to really start thinking that way, it's right now. It's being realistic about this situation, which isn't easy for anybody, but taking stock of the situations that you've been able to have a positive impact in the past and really acting commensurate with the way that you did before to make that positive change. And it's having an expectation of, like, man, this could go really well or this could go poorly, but how do I act to move towards that better situation? And for example, Chris and I were talking on the phone today, and I'm sure that you business owners on the call are all kind of aiming for that small business loan, the forgivable small business loan that the government's going to offer the United States citizens right now. And, we were talking, and it's like, we have several businesses, and it's like, we could really use that buffer for all of our businesses. But, Chris was talking, I was like, man, if, like, when we get that, I think we're going to come out, we're going to be okay. Actually, I think we're going to grow and be better on the other side of this. And he's like, well, tap the brakes, man, because there's a real chance that we won't get that money for at least one of our businesses. And I was like, you know what, you're right. And so it's coming back to that realistic expectation. It's like, okay, so what if that doesn't happen? If that doesn't happen, that's okay, because I'll be able to do X. And then it starts that creative aspect of our minds. We can start to think about, that's fine, because here are the things that we can do in the short term to really bolster ourselves and move ourselves forward. So it's, how can you observe what you've done in the past, bring it into the future, and realize that you have the ability to be able to act and know that your expectations will be in line with your actions. So I think beyond that, I want us to forget the shoulds. Okay. So there's a lot of times that we see, well, so-and-so is doing this, or we're too hard on ourselves because we feel as though we should be doing something. So there are all of those things that we believe we should be doing because other people say they're good. So obviously they're good for us too. And it can really be anything. So I want to talk about them in the context of emotional regulation. So they are things like, everybody tells you should be journaling. Everybody should be meditating. Everybody should be going to talk therapy. Now, I don't want you to think that I don't think those things are good. I think depending on the person, those things could be very helpful. I think some people should maybe do all of them, but they all have merit, but it doesn't mean that you should do them. There's an individual solution for you. And you know, I like the example of meditation because, you know, or journaling because, you know, a lot of people say you should get up and meditate in the morning. You should get up and journal in the morning. Well, if it's something that's like super difficult for you right now and it's something that you have to work on, maybe it's not something that gives you the best energy. Maybe that needs to be in a different part of your day. So just because somebody says that you should do something because it's supposed to work for you, but it just doesn't feel right, sometimes it's a matter of like, that's not the right thing for me right now. Sometimes it is the matter of staying the course before you realize the future label. But I mean, sometimes a tactic just isn't going to work. And we get hemmed up by the belief that people say that it should work for us. And then we get frustrated and we start judging the shit out of ourselves. So I think the thing to consider is just because something is generally good doesn't necessarily mean it specifically applies to you in that given situation. And that is more than okay. It's just the way things work. So if you like to meditate or something like that in the various forms recommended by experts, and you get benefit from it, then it's something that you should do. But if it causes you more stress than good and it frustrates the shit out of you, maybe it's time to leave it be for a little bit. But it also may be the time to get a little bit curious about why meditation or something like that is so frustrating to you. And that's just one example. It could be anything. So there are also a million other ways to focus on your body. It could be just lifting. It could be playing. It could be doing anything like that. But I think the big thing is like, we have to forget about shoulding all over ourselves, and consider a few things. And that's like, what can you pay attention to that helps you better regulate your emotional state? What are the things in activity that help you notice? And what typically helps you restore your emotional equilibrium or helps you get from getting too far off of it? And then it comes back to being patient with ourselves and taking the time to answer those questions. Like, for example, it's like where a lot of folks will say, hey, go meditate or do something like that. I play my guitar. And we have to have those kind of things for us because, you know, like I said, just because it is generally good doesn't mean it's necessarily good for you. So I think we need to consider those things, especially in times like this, because you're going to see a bunch of recommendations like, oh, you should do this. Oh, you should do this. Oh, you should market this way. Are you doing these kind of classes? Blah, blah, blah. And you should really think about this for managing yourself, managing whatever your business might be. And, you know, just in general, like, what is the thing that's going to work for you? What makes sense in your context? And don't let the shoulds catch up with you too much. Okay. Does that break any questions up for anybody? Okay. I want to talk about another piece of this.
Hey, Todd.
Yeah.
Sorry, real quick. You
Sure.
sort of talked about it a little bit, but can you maybe describe briefly the process maybe you use to decide if something is something you should do or something that, you know, how you determine whether it's good for you or not good for you?
Yeah, I think it's depending on how you apply the context, right? So, and you have to go by feel and how you respond to something. So, like, a lot of folks, you see a lot of things like the Daily Stoic or like Stoic philosophers have become really, really popular over the past few years. But I don't think that they were totally right. Yeah, some asshole from central Pennsylvania that teaches people to exercise is arguing with them. But I really think that we have to consider that our emotions allow us to realize what we value and what we don't value. So if we do something, let's say like meditation, and when we do that, we feel as though it's something that we're butting up against and it's a very, very big struggle and it's giving us a negative valence. Maybe it's not the best thing for us right now, or maybe it's not the best thing in that context. And I'll say this in this way. So like, let's say you're looking for some kind of tool to be recuperative for you. And you're like, okay, I'm going to try meditation. And then you sit down and you try to meditate like in some very specific way that some expert is recommending that you do, and it frustrates the hell out of you. It might not be the best thing for you to do right now, right? Or it could be that you need to shrink what you're trying to do because that task might just be too difficult for you to use in that context right now. So I think we really have to, I mean, I would love to tell you that there's something else other than like feeling an emotion to really pay attention to, but that's why we have emotions. That's why we have negative and positive valence to things. Sometimes we can be wrong about that, but I think that's where it starts. It's like paying attention to how we respond to something and what we're trying to use it for. So that context is what gives us the realization of whether or not something is has a positive valence or a negative valence for us in that way. So let's like I said, the same example of like meditation for recuperation. Maybe that is a good skill for you to practice. Maybe that's something that you need to build into your life so that you can grow as a person. But in the aspect of trying to use it to give yourself energy back, it might be a draining thing for you right now because you don't have the skill to use it that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So we kind of talked about this with the setting your intentions and how do I want to live today in the future you. So I'm going to I actually wrote this in an email to our email list the other day. And I think it's like, I think this kind of stuff is important for adults as much as it is for kids. But I used to work at a gym in Connecticut, and I was responsible for training all of the youth athletes. So I had all these kids that were like 11 to 13. And, obviously I want to have a positive impact on their life beyond just, teaching them exercise stuff and helping them prepare for their sports. I wanted them to think about, being decent people and growing in that way. So at the end of each session, when we would huddle up and we would put our hands in, I would say, hey, if you come up on a difficult situation over the next couple of days, I want you to ask yourself one question. What would the hero of my story do? And I started asking that question to them because the one day they talked about, and I trained all these, it was all boys, and they were these wild little hockey players. And they said a situation that's something that happened with a girl that probably wasn't the best way for anyone to behave. And I didn't want to be like, just reprimand, because I didn't think it would sink in. I didn't think it'd be like, oh, it's just another old guy telling me that I shouldn't do something. So I was like, let me ask you a question. If you were a hero in a movie and you saw that happening, what would you do? How would you behave? And it kind of stopped them in their tracks and made them think a little bit differently about what they were doing. And so I started asking them that question every day at the end of our sessions. And it worked pretty well to kind of get them to frame things for themselves. But I think the thing is like, hey, that works for all of us in any kind of setting, right? We can still pose that question to ourselves. So it's like we're putting ourselves into our own narrative. So when we see something difficult or something that maybe would be easy to respond negatively to, it's asking ourselves, hey, what would that person do? What would that person that was acting out my story, what would they do to respond to this situation? So this can be especially helpful when our emotions are getting the best of us and you just don't feel like doing anything about the situation. So this can help us bring out the better parts of ourselves. So, and it comes back to that idealized self that I talked about before. We already are that person. We just have to let ourselves realize it. And using a thought process like this helps us bring that out. So like I said before, we have to value that person more than we value our current self. And that sounds kind of weird, but if we do that, we can reveal those better selves in a much easier way. So beyond that, this helps us deepen our self-respect. And we act in attunement with our values when we do stuff like this. Because it's like everybody says, well, act in accordance to your values, Well, how do you put yourself in a position to do that? You have to ask yourself simple questions like this, because you can sit there and say, well, what do I value? What do I value? And it's easy to see that when you ask a question like this and it directs your behavior. And then at the same time, it also reveals to you how you approach things emotionally, right? So do I feel negative about this thing? That probably tells you something about how you value things. But then this helps you direct your behavior at the same time. Cool. So I want to finish up with two more things. And then if you guys have any questions or anything, or you want to talk about other stuff, we can do that too. I just wanted to make sure we got through some of these things. So I want to talk a little bit about time now and managing that. So the reality is this is really all that we have is time. So I want to show you how we manage that. We're not going to walk through that slide. So I want to talk to you about purpose. So why are you here? And that, I think, is the most important question that we can ask ourselves. We've asked a lot of big questions during this presentation, but what are you on this earth to do? And it's a big, big question. I don't want it to feel small, because I don't want your existence to feel small. It shouldn't. The sooner that you come to the knowledge that your existence isn't small, the sooner you can give an appropriate amount of yourself to the world. And that appropriate amount, I believe, is all of you. So there's going to be a lot of folks that'll offer you to tell you the meaning, the reason why you're here. And like a lot of that is like flag waving and authority figures and ideologues and religious figures. But the truth is, the only person that can tell you why you're here is you. And it's the most important thing that you can reveal during your time here. So when you know why, you'll be able to tell yourself how to spend your time here, right? So I really think that it's a matter of accepting what you know to be true about yourself, about the world, and about how you interact with it. And it's being honest with yourself about your natural abilities, what your lack of abilities might be, and what you inherently value. And we talked about how to figure out what those values might be. So, and what you can give to the world. What is it that you're best at that you can give to the world? And when you see it and when you tune your priorities into it, it makes it much easier for you to conduct your everyday business, whatever that might be, whether that's how you approach, your relationships, whatever it is, your business, your coaching, whatever it is. Things become a lot more obvious when you can sit down and give this a concise answer. So I'm going to give you mine as an illustration. I'm going to share with you why I know that I'm here. So it's a simple sentence. I'm here to express thoughts that people connect with and enjoy myself while I do it. I'm good at communicating. I'm good at taking information that other people have come up with and then using it and then teaching other people how to use it. And then writing and communicating and speaking and doing the things that I'm doing now. And when I figured that out for myself, it made it much easier to figure out what kind of businesses I was going to run, what kind of things I was going to write, how I was going to communicate with people, and how I was going to spend my time. So it's really looking at what are your natural abilities? What do you value? What are you not good at? What do you care about? And then just being okay with what that is and accepting it and then going headlong into that. And when you can accept it and you can go headlong forward into it, man, you can spend your time in so much better and in so many better ways. So I have one more thing that I want to put on your plate and I want you to think about is who needs you on your A game? I put this picture here. This is my mom. In 2014, my mom had a stroke and she's had to stop working. She lost some of her abilities in her left leg and her left arm. And, it was really tough. I mean, it was tough to watch. It was tough for her. But before all of that, I was essentially grew up in a single parent home, and my dad didn't really have much to do with us. And when he did, he wasn't great. And he left when I was 15. And this woman, the whole time, bore the brunt of that. And she sacrificed in a big way for me. So when I sit down and I start to feel a little sorry for myself, or I start to feel a little demotivated or whatever it might be, I think about her. She needs me to show up and kick ass because at some point, I've been a good son. I've been there for her in the ways that I need to be, but she's going to need even more for me, whether that's financial help, whatever it is. So I see her face and I keep it in my mind's eye when I start to feel that way. It's like, what will my mom do? And she showed up for 20 years at a job she hated and she kicked ass. So I had a roof over my head. I could eat, I could play sports. I could do all of those things. So I think there are a couple ways that you could pose this question to yourself. You could set an alarm and be like, hey, who needs me on my A game right now? Set an alarm on your phone. It'll pop up and it'll ask you that question. I think that's a really good way. Or you could use the way that I choose to. And that's, I have that question written on a note card at the head of my desk. So when I'm sitting down there and I feel like tuning out or I feel like being done or whatever it is, I look at that card and I see her and I see the other people that might need me, whether that's the employees at the gym, whether it's you folks in Strength Faction, whether it's my friends, whatever it is. And I make sure that I see those faces and then I can get back to work in the way that I need to. You can choose to use this however you'd like, but I think being able to sit down and ask yourself who needs you on your A game when things are getting tough is really good, because the reality is we are way more apt to do things for other people than we are for ourselves. And when we can define who those people are and put them in our heads at the pivotal moment, man, we can do so much more. So those are the main points that I wanted to pull out for you guys from this presentation. Do you guys have any questions? Anything that brought up for you? Any things that you want to discuss or talk about based on what we just talked about? Anything at all?
So when you were talking about values, Todd,
Sure.
I just want to make sure that I captured this because this was really meaningful to me. So when you were what you were saying was the best way to kind of, without having to sit around and think about what are my values,
Mm-hmm.
creating that idealized self will essentially kind of help paint a picture.
Who is that person? Yeah. And how, what do you have emotional reactions to? So what
Right.
feels good, what feels bad, and not just from like a hedonistic sense, because I don't think that that's as valuable. What I mean is like, so for example, when Chris and I came up with the values for our businesses, we thought about the shit that we hated. What pisses us off? How do we stay as far away from that as possible? So for example, we do something that most gyms don't do for their training employees. All of our guys get a salary. And we did that because we got fucked with so much by one of the gyms that we worked with when they tried to take money from us and say, you couldn't do this, or like, no, we helped you with that, so we can't pay as much money for this. And we were like, that is such bullshit. And we don't want anybody else to have to go through that. So it's looking at the things that you have an emotional reaction to, and then asking yourself, well, like, how would I approach this if I were the person that I really, truly valued more than anything else? And I think that that's a really good way to kind of sort that out for yourself. And just how do you basically behave? Like for us, the foundational credo, philosophy, mission, I guess you would say, for all of our businesses, human development for development's sake. So everything that we do is driven by that. So we are here to help people grow. That's us. That's our employees. That's our clients. That's everybody. No matter what I do, that'll be an aspect of. If I start writing novels, and they will be in some way. I do write novels. I'm not good enough to get them published yet. But when they do, they will positively impact somebody in some way.
That's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dude, do you think that we should write out one sentence? Do you think that's best for the purpose for why are you here? Right? Like
Yeah. There's actually a process. I don't have my notebook with me. You know what I'll do is I'll post it on social media somehow. There's this book called The Book of Beautiful Questions by a guy named Warren Berger. It's a really good book. I love it. And Chris and I both read it last year. And in one section of that book, it asks you to write out what your sentence is. And I didn't I did this before I read that book, but I honestly think his process for figuring that out might be a little bit better than mine is. So I think I would recommend that book to anybody, The Book of Beautiful Questions. It goes through leadership. It goes through relationships, creativity. And there's a fourth one that I can't think of right now. But yes, I think writing it out in a sentence and making it as simple and concise as possible is the thing. Like, what's your sentence? What is your sentence?
that makes sense. Also, not that anyone here cares, but I thought for a second that the main singer of Smashing Pumpkins was here, but it turns out it's Billy Corbett. There's a laugh.
Good one. That's me.
Billy used to tour with the Pumpkins, though. You don't
Yep.
know that.
I was the one they smashed. Yep. Hey, Todd, I got something to ask you here.
Yeah, man.
I'm really intrigued by this metaphor of training days and waiving our demands, because in this time that we are, this is exactly what I was sitting on the couch before the call today, sitting here like this, you know, my head down, because there's so many things to do and so many shoulds and so many this. So my question is, you talked about big project versus normal. And you gave us an example of a big project, hard day, what it would look like. And then you spoke about a normal day, you know, how it would look Monday, Tuesday. What's the difference of those two? I mean, the obvious thing is you got a big project versus a normal every day, but is there an easy day as well? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, of what would you do on? I just want to kind of close that loop right there with all that, because if I could put my stuff in that schedule, I'm going to be a happy boy.
I mean, I think it's idealized. Don't get me wrong. And Chris and I have the employees and stuff that have really helped us. I think, you know, whatever parts of it that you can take and put in, and it's like, that works in your specific context right now is what you can do. And I think one thing that the one element that I could probably add to that is crisis mode, which is kind kind of where we all are right now, if we're being honest. It's like nobody knows what's going on. We have to do shit. We have to act. So I think when it comes to something like that, you're looking at that schedule. I think crisis mode would fit that as well. And so, yes, I would still put easy and medium days in there. Right now, you know, I'm doing probably 2 hard days a week. And then I'm doing the big project schedule right now because we've been working on a lot because we're like, hey, things are pretty uncertain. We have to make sure that we're in a good place with things. So, I don't know if I'm specifically answering your question or not. Did I get close to it or?
Yeah, you did. It's, you know me enough to know that, can you give me a schedule, Todd? I'll follow
Yeah,
it. Really
just
good
do that.
task-oriented.
Honestly, what I would do is just do that and see how it works for the rest of the week. And, these are all individualized things. So hard for Billy is different than hard for me, So I think that's one thing to consider is like, okay, so, and not to the point where you're like completely fried, but hard. Like you're pushing yourself a little bit. All right, I'm gonna go deep on this today. I'm gonna make sure I get as far as I can, or I'm gonna fit as much of this in as I can. But I think the harder thing to do is allow ourselves to have easy days. And just like, we're going to go check boxes. That's all I have to do today. I'm going to get these 2 things done. Like for me, it's like sometimes my easy days are like, hey, I'm going to get my emails done. I'm going to check in on a few folks. And then I'm going to just go do shit I want to do. Because I know that tomorrow that work's still going to be there unless there's something pressing. And then, sometimes the rules go out the window, but I think the rules have to be there for us to break them. Otherwise things are just too ambiguous. So it's like, this is a very simple set of rules to follow to keep us from burning ourselves out.
Well, thank you. Because what I find really, really helpful is that, you're looking at the urgent and important, the 4 boxes. I think it was Stephen Covey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find myself in the bottom, not urgent, and or however it is. I find myself doing more of those because it's what I have control over instead of dealing with this massive what I have to do. But this gives me freedom and almost permission to say, dude, for 4 hours, you're just going to nail this thing, and then tomorrow you get to have an easier day because you got all this stuff done.
Exactly.
And I was doing every single day of that one hard box or every single day of the easy box. And that can't work either. So I just want to thank you so much because this was a godsend of a call for me.
Good. I'm happy. That makes me happy, man. Sincerely. I think it really comes down to framing with that kind of stuff. And that's like what you just said is the frame. It's like, I know tomorrow is going to be all right. And I know it's going to be easier. Chris kind of lays both of those things together. Like when Chris plans out his week, he does the urgent, not important, important, not blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. He does that, lays it over the other framework. And then that's how he decides what he's going to do. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Todd, can I share something going back to purpose?
Absolutely. Please do.
So I have a thing that I picked up from the book Legacy. Anybody read Legacy?
Yep.
Book about the All Blacks. So something I share with my kids that I coach every season. I coach a team in the spring every season, a rugby team. Kind of appropriate, obviously. They had a mental skills coach named Gilbert Anoka, and he asked a few questions to the team every year. And I asked my kids the same thing. Why are you here? What's your purpose? How do I use my time here? What's my job in the team? So you can apply that to what's my job is in the world.
I think it's great. That's a great book. If you guys haven't read it, it's really good. Thank you, Jared.
Yep.
What else can we work on today, guys? There's lots of folks here. Somebody's got stuff to talk about.
I have a question.
Sure, go on.
Hi, Todd. Sorry.
Hey, you're good.
Got to get away from the kids. Talking about the shoulds. I have my partner that I'm with who owns the gym. He's been working out some of his clients in our back of our gym in the parking lot, which is very nice. It looks over the water. I'm just saying that because it's not just a parking lot. But I didn't feel comfortable doing that with my clients. It just, for whatever reason, it's not my gym. And some of my clients they didn't even want to, but he kind of is pushing me to offer that. And I feel like he keeps kind of pushing that he's seeing so many clients right now and they're so into it. And I don't know if I'm like denying them. I'm doing some virtual workouts, but a lot of my clients don't even seem like they want to work out right now. Some people are losing their jobs. It's like a
Sure.
little crazy here in New York. And, I'm not the best salesperson, and I'm just trying to be there for them, but I'm not sure like how far, to take this.
Well, I think there's one simple question to ask, and that is that
Yeah.
legal right now?
Right.
I don't think it goes anywhere beyond that. It's like I'm 99.9% certain that that's not legal. So it's like it's not even a question. And I think that the fact that that might be pushed on you is just like, it's bullshit.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure about bringing it up in this conversation because I wasn't sure how live we're going, but yeah, I think, I agree with that also, which was kind of, my dad's a lawyer. So I just felt like, just a lot of reasons didn't feel right. Um,
No, I don't think, I think you know what stuff feels right and what feels wrong. And it's like, there are folks that in this situation, it's unprecedented. So the only
right.
thing that you can do is like, okay, so there are the very legal things that we all have to abide by that, whether you agree with them or not, they're legal. And that's like losing your business license would suck real bad.
Right.
So we have to pay attention to that. And then beyond that, in the gray area, all you can do is act by your values. So there are gyms that shut down before anyone was required to do that because they thought that was the right thing to do for them. There are other gyms that stayed open until they were told to close, but they abided by whatever the rules might be. There's no one to tell you that any of those things was right or wrong in this situation. There's no one, because quite honestly, we don't have the information to tell anybody what's right or wrong right now. Like we don't have the descriptive information to tell us what is the right thing to do. We can only abide by what our values might be or what the legality of things are. And if yours are your values and the legality are telling you it's something that's wrong, then
Right. And in terms of also like, I don't know, I might have missed this, but about not pushing your clients, but the ones that, I'm reaching out, I'm here for them. They know I'm virtual, I'm checking how everybody's doing, but I don't want to keep selling myself. They know I'm here. If they want to work out, a lot of people are working out on their own. They feel good. Some people are actually using this as an opportunity to do other things, go for walks or.
Yeah. So here's the thing is, you can't help, and this isn't necessarily a total equivalent, but you can't help people that don't want help. You can't. And I think the other thing along with that is like, you can't make people do stuff that they don't want to do. And all you can do is continue. Like, honestly, if people have been very obvious about like, hey, I don't want to do that right now. I don't want to work out. And it's like, all you can do is be there to support them and check in and say, hey, how you doing? And don't even talk about exercising because they don't want to do it. Who gives a shit? That's all you can do. So
to Todd's point there have been, if I like with former clients of mine, I'll do that. Like people that are in the area that for whatever reason, I'm not training right now, whether they moved or whatever. And I'll be like, yo, how you doing? Or I'll speak my language to them. I'll make some sort of inappropriate reference, whatever. And it's interesting. I'm not saying you can snap your fingers and get business out of it, but the number of people who have come back to me because of that is actually, it's enough where it's justified. Plus it's cool to just check in on people and they know you give a shit and all that. But
yeah.
That's something that honestly, that's a great point, Wes. And just to like shift to business for just a second. That's something we talked about on our business call yesterday is our business with our business coaching clients, reaching out to past members because they trust you. A lot of time, if it was on good terms, obviously they trust you, and everybody's starting to get to the point where they're like, I'm stuck in my house. I need something to do right now. And if they hear from Alyssa, they might be like, hey, hey, are you training anybody? Are you doing virtual workouts? It'd be a really good way for everybody to get their business back up a little bit too. So, because this is like, people realize that we're all in this together. And that's the shift is like, this is new for everyone. And it's not like you're like offering online while people can still go to the gym or anything like this. It's like everybody has to play the same game. So I think it's a really good point that Wes just made, and everybody should be reaching out to past clients and saying hi.
Right. Yeah. I also think, I don't know if it's just me, maybe the people I follow, but just like every trainer is I guess everybody's just grabbing online and they want to either teach trainers or they want to train people. It's just so much I feel like is on Facebook right now.
So the thing that you can do is be you and,
Right.
and realize do the things that other trainers aren't doing, and connect with people in your way and connect personally with people, because like Bill Hartman said a few weeks ago, we don't need any more fucking kettlebell swing videos. Like,
Right.
so it's like, we just connect with people in the way that is authentic to you, and reach out and be genuine. Just because you're training people online doesn't mean that you're going to get people through social media, or you have to post or do the things the way to, when we first started building Strength Faction, we didn't have any like real social media presence. Like people knew who Chris and I were from our presenting and from writing articles for magazines and such like that. But we built this by like as if you would build a in-person business. We were like shooting people. We were contacting everybody that we knew. We did that. And those are the things that we can still do to build our businesses now. It's like, don't think you got to have some perfect funnel or you got to do all this shit. Like shooting emails, knocking on doors, making calls. Don't knock on doors, but metaphorically knocking on doors.
Gotcha.
is something that we can all do right now. And I think it would be one of the best ways to go about this, because it's like everybody has that. And,
Yeah, very good.
Melissa, I would just add to all that they've said is just if they're your clients, you're worried about them, just keep checking in, because I had a couple too that they just were not interested in getting after it, and it just took a bit of time. And like one of them, she's got 2 kids, and she was actually pretty worried about, before this all went down, that she was going to be spending a lot of time at home with her kids, which seems funny because they're her kids, but it just took a bit for her to get it into her head that, to get past that, sort of get the kids settled into the routine. And then now that she's settled into the routine, she's come back to it and she's ready to go. And there's, I have a couple that are actually like that. So you don't really know where they're at maybe, but I think if you just keep pinging them, and you don't have to ping them about exercise, but just ping them about what is going on in life. And that they'll either eventually come around, or, if nothing else, you're just providing the value by being there for them. So.
Right.
It's a great point, Jerry.
Where's that background? What picture is that?
Who, me?
No, Jerry.
Oh,
Virtual background?
Yeah. What is that?
Yeah, that is somewhere over western Wisconsin, eastern Minnesota, over the St. Clair River. So I have a pilot's license, and that's flying.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Hey,
That's
Todd,
it.
I have a question kind of going off of this online work. What are your thoughts and what's your opinion on what to charge versus in person?
Same thing.
And how do we justify that to clients that think otherwise? Because I agree with you, but
They're paying for you. They're paying for the interaction. They're paying for your coaching, and they're paying for your direction. They're not paying for your equipment. So honestly, I think the biggest thing with that is just, there was never even a question. We were just being like, hey guys, here's how we're taking care of you now, blah, blah, blah. We're going to all get through this together, and we just fucking threw a bunch of value at them. Like, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. We're doing this. We're doing this. And it's like, our most clients, they want to support us. They know this is difficult for everybody. And the reality is, and this is a conversation that we've had several times on calls over the past month or so, is like, there are literally online trainers that will charge folks $500 for a program and a phone call. And I am positive that you are giving people more than that. So it is fine for you to charge whatever it is that you charge before you had to go online.
okay.
So
I agree.
as far as like justifying it, I think if you're at the point where you feel like you have to justify it, that person might just not be the right person, or you're not presenting enough value. Because the thing is like, this has shifted for everybody. Like I said, so it's like, it's not like they can go to a gym instead of training with Autumn online. It's like, this is a new thing that everybody's in together. So it's like, your value has changed. Maybe like going to the gym would have been a different value for them at that point, but no one can do that. So it's like, they're paying for you to take care of them in their house. So same price.
Sounds good.
And to Todd's point with that, Autumn, and he alluded to this, don't even bring up the like, oh, I know you don't have this or that, but like, listen, I need you to grab a backpack. I need you to put this in there. Do you have this? Cool. Do you have like, just like you're in charge, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to rock and roll. We're going to stay on top. shit.
Exactly. Here's how we're going to kick ass. This is what we're doing. So.
Nice. I like it. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And they are also paying for results, and you can still give them results.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. That's a great point, Tador. Thank you.
One other question, actually.
Go for it.
Have you guys dealt with any older clients that are not as technologically advanced or, technologically savvy or comfortable, that they're really uncomfortable with trying to do this online, even though they want to hire you?
I honestly, we haven't yet. I haven't. Has anybody else?
I have.
Go ahead.
Autumn, I got this guy, he's 75 years old, and it's so funny because he has a beautiful iPhone 11 that he just got. And whenever he goes, he leaves it at home. Okay. So we joke about my communication with him is through smoke signals or Morse code or something. And he loves that. But he and I did a Zoom call. And so he had someone, so maybe they have a family member who can set him up. Okay. But it's actually really easy, and Zoom makes it really easy as well. If you go onto their online, onto what they do, they have so many tutorials. But what we did, if they have a phone, you can do FaceTime. That's an easy one, so they just got to push the FaceTime thing. But what we did is my admin girl did a class. I know that's, down the road here, but she actually just went online, and we just sent them this link. Okay. And all they had to do was, we told them exactly step by step. Do they do a laptop? Do they do a computer at all?
I mean, every client that I'm dealing with is different, but in general, the ones that I've been working with are older. Some have laptops and phones, but some just don't. And I know that's why they're shying away from this right now.
Yeah, because I think if you gave them a step by step by step by step, step one, do this, and be on the phone with them like this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, good. Well, that's what we did, and it worked for my, 70 plus, and I have an 80-year-old who does it too. She's probably better than me.
Awesome. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I think Zoom and GoToMeeting are a little bit harder to learn than FaceTime or WhatsApp video or Skype. Maybe.
That's fair.
Yeah, I've been doing all three. It just depends on, I guess, who you're working with and all that jazz. I'm doing the Google Hangout, FaceTime, and Zoom, but I guess it just depends on your audience, what they have access to.
Yeah. So here's the thing to think about too, right? So it's like, now that everybody's online, right? At least for however long this is going to go on, it's the same thing as everybody having a gym. So what would you do to differentiate yourself if we were all at the gym? It's the same question that you need to ask yourself. It's the same damn thing now, because everybody's in the same place. And that's what we need to continually do. It's the same thing. It's like we're solving problems for our clients in a different way, and we're going to attract new clients based on how we're doing that, rather than just filming ourselves doing a workout or whatever it is. It's like, how would you set yourself apart? How would you make yourself attractive if we were all just still at the gym? It's the same question, guys.
Yeah, more to that point, your clients bought you, and if you're you and you're still being you, they'll support you. I've had multiple clients that can't train but still want to pay me.
Yeah.
Because I'm the same goofy ass person I always have been. So just
sure.
Be you. They'll help you. If they're good people, which I assume they are, they'll help you.
Yeah. And I'll come back to this again, and just to say is it's not even a question with value. It's like, oh man, I'm getting this and this and this and this and this and this too. And it's like, you got the time, you don't got to go train anybody except for the individual sessions you're doing on Zoom or whatever. It's like, come up with some new and creative ways to help your folks. This is the chance to be as creative as possible and approach it with take your deep breaths, get being scared out of the way, and then think about how you can solve the problems. And then you just go. That's it. Go ahead, Glenna. I see you.
An ethical question.
Sure.
So I teach classes at the gym I work at. We're doing virtual classes online. That's been going, and my boss is paying me for that. I also train individual clients at that gym, and I pay the gym a percentage. Some of those clients have asked to be trained virtually. And my inclination is, I don't, and I've gotten I have other clients that are being trained virtually also, but 2 of them I got from the gym. I feel like I should probably still pay the gym if I'm going to charge the same amount virtually as I do, when I'm training them at the gym. But it's a very weird dynamic. I don't know. I don't know what would be the right thing to do. I'm inclined to just pay pay them.
That's not a straightforward answer. I think you're right. I think there's a lot of ways that you could play through it. I mean, we could say, it depends on how you want to look at it. So are you paying the gym because you're taking up space in the gym that somebody else could be taking up and making them money? Like, is that the reason that you're being charged? Is it because they got you the lead that got you the client and you're paying a continual like finder's fee? Is that the reason that you're being charged? And I don't know. I mean, I
How
think
would you
that's
feel if it were you, like as a gym owner?
honestly what would I do? I would be like, keep the money right now. Everybody needs the money. Just keep it. That's what I would say. But it's not, I'm not everybody. Like, that's what I would do.
Okay.
Like, if, some of the guys that like, honestly, we've been training virtually right now, obviously, just like everybody else, and our whole gym's online. And we've had other leads from like distance clients come in and stuff, and we still give stuff just individually to our guys to help them bolster their income right now. So, and I understand that not everybody operates like Chris and I get that. So it's like, but I'm just saying from a way to parse it out, and I don't know the answer, is to think about, why are you being charged? Is it a taking up space thing? Is it a finder's fee thing? Is it both? And it's like, and then it comes down to like, hey, what do you feel comfortable with for like keeping the goodwill going? It's like, hey, if you feel like giving them the money that you normally give them for charging those clients is the right thing to do, then who's going to tell you it's not the right thing to do?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yep.
Todd, I got a question.
Sure, buddy.
I mean, it could go for like everyone else as well. Like, what other value can you provide right now besides like just like classes and videos, like
Sure.
like running maybe like an accountability challenge? Like, what are things that I guess we could do to kind of just make it the best situation for our clients to kind of like, I guess, at least maintain their just maintain, and not to completely go overboard with, because I know people are stress eating and all this stuff. So,
Sure.
what would be the best thing we could do besides, like, I guess you can say, videos and workouts to kind of help out our clients?
Of course. Ross, everybody's heard my voice enough today. What are you doing?
Talking about me?
No, Ross. I'm waiting for Ross to.
I'm just trying to pretend I'm busy, trying to look busy as much as I can. I wanted to echo one of the things that we talked about on the business call yesterday and kind of got brought up here, but I think it's good for anybody just from a mindset, attitude, approach thing with what we're doing right now. So I was talking to the guys about seeing a coach in Chicago that's just kind of like a one-on-one personal trainer posting about like, hey guys, I'm going to do and this person does some one-on-one training and then some group class. And they're like, hey guys, I'm going to do some virtual coaching stuff. Like, hit me up if you're interested. And knowing the layout of gyms and everything in Chicago, I'm thinking to myself, like, man, this person logistically is like very close, like location wise, to this big gym or smaller gym, but like successful gym in the city. And I know what that gym is doing, and they're rolling out, like, they got a ton of members, right? They're rolling out like a really clean, kind of sharp virtual training product. And like on a product standpoint alone, they've got this whole thing with the display and all this stuff, and it looks really sharp. And she's literally just going to do, like Zoom calls or whatever and coach and instruct people. And so like I looked at it through that wavelength of like, she's not going to be able to provide as clean of a product, not nearly as much. Like, man, what is she thinking? But then it clicked as I just thought a little further, right? Like, none of her people are interested in going over and doing some virtual product just because it's a little nicer from a gym where they don't know the coaches, they don't know the people, they don't feel like they're, as much a part of the community. And so like, for all the people that you have, like, they're looking for that level of familiarity and everything that has been echoed here of like, everyone's in this situation. But I think that should give you some confidence, reaching out to your people, asking for what you're worth, charging the rates that you should, doing all that stuff, should just back it up. Like if there's somebody doing it better than you, quote unquote, and you think that's why you shouldn't, take what's yours and claim your spot right now. Like, I think you're kind of missing it, because that's not really what people are judging it on. Like for me right now, while everything's gone virtual, what I'm seeking, right, is familiarity with the businesses I interact with and all that stuff. Like I want that sense of familiarity. And so you guys have that with all the people you've been working with. And I think don't be bashful about asking for what you're worth when that time comes, because that's really, really important to people, that personal touch. And even though we've been talking about it, like I still think people are underestimating that. So that's my piece there.
What are some of the things that you've been doing though, like all the fun stuff you've been doing with your clients and the other things?
Yeah. Oh, totally. So we're to that point of like trying to add value and stuff. I think our people who have been reaching out continually, like they'll thank us and it might be after like one of the live group sessions, right? And they'll say like, oh, thank you for a great session. But then they'll immediately go into like, it feels so great to see everybody and feel connected and see everyone. And so we've really leaned into that with like having different coaches on, running different sessions, giving people chances to get together. And I think being creative right now is like lean into whatever's creative. So we did a Friday mobility flow. And after that, we did like a happy hour, right? So like everybody had a drink and we all finished the mobility flow, and then everybody just like shot the breeze. And it was a call like as big as this, and everybody was unmuted, and it was just utter chaos, right? Because like everyone's talking, but we all loved it. Like everybody had a big smile on their faces. They're trying to like shout over everyone else for one person on the call to hear them that they're trying to talk with. And like, you just got to see where opportunities are. One of our members is a professionally trained chef. During happy hour, he's like making dinner after the mobility flow, and a conversation of like, hey, what are you making? Turned into this Friday, Gustavo is going to run a cooking class right after a mobility flow, right? And like, and it's not about like, these are healthy foods. Like we're not theming anything to do with fitness. Just it's going to be risotto with scallops, right? Like, but he's going to run this cooking class, and people are hyped and like, yeah, they know Gustavo's a good chef and they'll be able to learn how to make a great dish. And like, yeah, that's valuable, but like, what is it? It's like opportunities for people to connect and feel connected to other people when they can't right now. And we're leaning into that stuff more and more. And so when you have those blips or those creative moments, I think everybody I think what Jared was saying, like, he's this goofy guy, right? Like that's what makes him him. And like each one of you has that stuff. And like, man, now is the time to lean into that really hard and just be creative. And we're doing all sorts of stuff. And although it's not in the virtual realm, I'll give an example of we moved our gym back in November, and we did a big like event with the Chamber of Commerce. And I had, so much stuff on my plate. I wasn't able to execute this. And to this day, like I kick myself. It was going to be people coming from work Chamber of Commerce, right? So you're talking about like khakis and polos, like that's what everyone's going to wear. I really wanted to rent a tuxedo and wear a tuxedo to the event and be like way like obscenely overdressed for like what the event was supposed to be. But it would have gotten people to laugh. It would have gotten them talking about it. And like, I'm kicking myself for not having done that, because that would have been unique. It would have been authentically me. It would have let people kind of know what kind of person I am, just in like, this guy's wearing a tuxedo, like I'm wearing it, sort of thing. And I have lots of ideas like that. If I go over the past couple of years of stuff where like, man, I had a good idea and I just didn't have the confidence to execute it because it was outside of the box of what other people are doing. And I think right now is like, nobody has the answer. We're all in this together. Like whatever is uniquely you, whatever creative thing you've got in your head about executing, like lean into it and see if it's got some legs to it. Cause this is different than just the virtual training. Like Todd said, it's the only thing people can do. So different ways you can create community or value or whatever, like, man, that's the move. And I think now more than ever, you guys should lean into what makes you each unique.
I think the thing is like, we need to, besides exercise, we need to keep coming back to what do people need right now, right? They need someone they need to see a calm face. They need to see somebody that's confident. They need to be they need to restructure their lives in some way. You know what I mean? And that's some of the things that I've written about on our email list and stuff, is that everybody has to restructure their triggers. Like when they go into the kitchen, are they aware of what they're thinking about when they go into the kitchen? Or are they just shoveling shit in their face? You know what I mean? So like helping people create awareness around those things. We're running a different kind of challenge at our gym with like that. There's an exercise component to it, but it's not like, hey, everybody do 30 squats every day. No, it's nothing like that. It's like, what are all the other things that we can be working on that we can move forward with? And Gallo, you're in Strength Faction. What do I do every night?
Oh, sure. Like just like a quick night message or something.
I do the nightly message.
Yeah, I saw that. I was kind of thinking about sharing something with my clients as well.
Yeah. I mean, if this is the time, if you don't have groups set up for your clients and stuff like that, if you're training people one-on-one, like this is the time to do all that stuff. People need connection. People need someone to see a face that's confident. They need to be working on all the other things that they're not working on, and they need structure, so having something that allows them to apply some kind of structure to their life is important. Because even if they're working from home, they're sitting on their couch working on their computer with the TV on, and this is going, it's like everything's just ambiguous. So however we can help them give some kind of shape to their lives and have fun and connect with people as they do it is an important thing to do. And they just, like I said, I mean, a lot of us don't feel like, hey, I got to be a leader, blah, blah, blah. But like now we do. And I'm not saying like, you got to be a superhero or anything like that, but just showing people the way to create some kind of structure and guidance in their life is just important for everybody right now. So I think sit back and think about what are the things that everybody's having a problem with right now, and how can I help my clients with the skills that I have solve those problems? Just like, we're having every week, I'll tell you some of the stuff that we're doing. Every week we have like a coffee talk type things on Wednesdays. On Friday afternoons, we do a happy hour. What are the other things we're doing? In Strength Faction a few weeks ago, we had everybody come on Saturday and bring their kids, and Ross read a book, and it was amazing. It was just like whatever you can do to keep people connecting and keep helping. Like that's what you do. That's cool. It.
Hey Ross, I love that cooking class idea. We also will have inside night out with our
I saw that
clients, and I'd love to hear more ideas about this crazy situation. So the inside night out came to my mind. It was Friday night, and I was thinking, man, I miss going out and getting ready for a couple of beers and a chat with my friends. And then I made an event on our Facebook group, and everybody's hyped up for this Friday.
It's brilliant.
And I'd love to hear more stories about what you people are doing right now, like not related with exercise.
Yeah. What is everybody doing? Everybody's doing something. Just, what are you doing? Throw something out there.
I've been setting up a lot of FaceTime calls with just friends that I haven't seen in a while, and just kind of going about it that way. I haven't set up anything Zoom-wise, like with a bunch of people yet, but that's actually a pretty cool idea.
Don't you do stand-up, Gallo?
I actually did. Last week I did 5. Actually went a little longer, but I did do, quote-unquote, 5 minutes of joke material and just kind of did an Instagram Live.
Why don't you have your clients together and do a stand-up night for them?
I could. You're right. I could do that. That's a good idea there.
That'd be, you got to work on your jokes so you get your clients together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's funny. But yeah, man.
I hope it's funny. If not,
but it was fun. Like I did that last Friday. Just ran through a quick Instagram Live, shared some just new material that I've been working on, and obviously some people gave me good feedback. Whatever. It was like, if you don't like it, let me know. If you like it, cool. But it was fun.
Yeah.
I think too, it's like knowing your people and knowing your group. I know, one of our fellow gym owners, his gym membership, the average age is probably like late 20s. And so they've been able to lean more into, like this sort of social hour stuff and things like that. For us, we've got a lot more people with kids. So I think 2 things to acknowledge there. One is, one of the first things we did up front with all our members and all our people was like, hey, what's your at-home situation like? Because for us, like, everything changed a lot for us. We can't coach people in person, but for some of these, so we're thinking of like all this free time that we have, but for some people, like they've got to work their full-time job and they've got their kids at home and they've got to do this stuff. And so they're almost like busier now. So we made sure we got on the pulse of where people were. So we knew how to like kind of communicate with them and make sure it wasn't tone deaf, what we were saying, you know, about like what we should do or goals or whatever, and that we're speaking to them. But then also like the social hour thing works more for, and I'm talking about Brandis, like for their group and their population, it works for us too. But with our people, a lot of them having kids, another thing we're doing is essentially like a parent-kid PE class. All the e-learning right now ends at 2:00. Can't go past 2:00 or whatever is the rules. So we have a 2:15 PE class that we'll do. And it's just real short. It's like 20 minutes, but it's like parents with kids. I'll bring my 4-year-old and like, you know, pull her in and we'll just get goofy together and do some stuff. And it's like, it's not about fitness, right? Like we're not driving fitness in this session, but it gives the parent a chance to like get active and shake out everything, and for the kid to, you know, shake out their sillies and do something with their parents that's structured, and the parent doesn't have to put any mental energy into it because they're maxed out kind of entertaining, especially if they got young kids, and keeping them engaged. So like, hey, let me take this over for 20 minutes from you, and you and your kid just follow along with what we're doing, and you're both going to feel good at the end. But that's because we got a lot of people with kids. If we didn't have a lot of people with kids, that wouldn't really hit the, you know, as well as it does, because we do. So, you know, feeling out your people, really knowing where they are, I think helps give you some framework. And then honestly for us, helped us be more creative because we kind of knew what would and wouldn't work for our people.
It's great. It's killer, man.
Very nice.
Wes, I really liked your rant.
Oh yeah. Wait. So is that podcast like out, or is it just out for faction people?
I'll think so. I just threw up the YouTube vid when I was knocking out emails earlier.
Oh, sweet. Thanks, dude.
So I was just listening to it while I was doing it, and like you rambled, and then you got to the end, you're like, I don't know, I'm just rambling. I was like, no, that was very, very, very good.
What podcast is it?
Thank you, Ross. Casey Lee's.
What's it called?
The three things podcast.
What episode is it?
Episode 69, and that's
okay.
That was part of the arrangement. I was like, listen, I will do this. When he asked me like last year, I was like, I'm more than happy to do it, but you have to promise me I'm episode 69, and if it lasts long enough, 420. And he was like, all right. And I was like, cool. I was like, all right, cool. And we did the damn thing, and we had a good time.
Yeah, and he said he's got to release like 10 more before he actually gets there, but just had to like lock you in for that.
That's why I asked, because he was like, yeah, just did one with this person and this person and this person. And I was like, well, whatever. Just let me know when it pops off. And then he posted.
No, I thought it was sorry, to just fill people in. So this is a podcast. Wes was on it. I was listening to it earlier, and I don't remember exactly what the question was, but I think it's relevant to everything we're talking about right now. And it was Wes was just kind of going on a ramble about like being an authentic human being and connecting with your people right now. And like, it's so, the statement is so cliche right now in our field, but like it's a cliche is a cliche for a reason of like, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And then Wes just kind of went into like, what does that actually mean? And, you know, showing up on time, being consistent, being positive, even if you're not having a good day, like knowing that it's not about you and like you're here for these people. And I don't know. I thought it was great, Wes. I thought you were just so on point there, man.
Stay positive, test negative. Thank you, Ross.
I think the question wasn't it the trainer toolbox question?
Oh, Chris is here. Hello, Chris.
Yeah, hey there.
It probably was. I don't even remember.
Or it was what led into the trainer toolbox question. But yeah, I listened to it as well, man. You crushed it.
Ah, thanks, Chris. I can't see your face. Like what? Oh, you shaved your head again.
Yeah, man, they closed all the barbers.
Praise the Lord, he's back.
I had two choices. Try and give myself a fade.
Nope, don't do that.
Yeah, I should have given myself a fade and been like, no matter what, You have to rock this.
I'm holding on to it.
No one would see it.
That would have been amazing.
Oh, yeah. I just shaved it. And
Amen. No.
for anyone on the call that doesn't know, because I think there's like a lot of guests on right now from what I'm looking at, I have she's playing in the background there. I have an almost 3-year-old. She'll be 3 in 6 days. And when I came downstairs with the shaved head, she just like backed up real slow. She was like, "What is this?" And then last night she was petting my head and it fell out. It fell out.
That's awesome.
I'm in between getting a fade or just doing full.
No, just let it grow, man. See where you're at. See where you end up. Let it grow. I'll tell you what, if I could still grow hair, that's what I'd be doing. I just can't.
I would too. I'll be honest. I have like the Bruce Willis in Die Hard where it just kept going back. Like, yeah.
What else do we need to discuss today, guys? What's on your minds? What stuff you're working through? What do you want ideas about? What's working, what's not working? Anything is fair game.
I don't want this to turn into a huge discussion. I'll like message you personally, but does anyone here utilize True Coach for programming and shit? Raise your hand. Nobody. All right, cool. That's all.
There's your answer, pal.
All right, cool.
That's quick.
I will say to kind of help with, now it's not like I don't have anything at home, but to kind of help with getting in the head of what my people are dealing with, I'm trying to just exercise at home with, you know, a couple kettlebells and a few kind of basic things rather than going in and using the full gym, which has helped me kind of come up with ideas. Man, it feels awesome to do tons and tons of push-ups. I like that necessity of not having a bunch of stuff. Like I was like, God, why did I stop doing these? Still, like, as popular as push-ups are, still maybe the most underrated exercise out there. Just so anyway, push-ups, man. That's all I gotta say. Push-ups.
Can you give us a description? I'm not sure I follow a push-up.
Push-up?
Right. It's well, it's a bit of a misnomer. So you get down on the ground, and I understand like the push-up, but essentially you push. I'm not great with physics, but you're pushing the earth down.
This is falling apart.
This is actually, you know what? Okay, but you just gave me a great idea because it's like all about making people laugh right now. I genuinely think I might hop on we have a midweek check-in tonight with clients, and I might ask everybody to tell me what a push-up is and just see like no, for real, you have to pretend I've never done one in my whole life. Like, describe it.
Oh, you teach this to me.
It's hard. What's a push-up? Like you do a plank. I don't know what's a plank. I don't know what a plank is.
Yeah.
That is us. That's a good idea. I love Ross's idea, honestly, of like, even if you still have access to a gym, which I know not everybody does, like making yourself work out at home so you know what they're going through and you can come up with ideas. I think that's brilliant. I think that's something everybody should take right now.
Yeah, it's helped a lot with like creativity and just coming up with ideas and like just getting ahead of like, yeah, where these people are at. Like I like in the gym, right? You like having these structured programs, and I've almost more enjoyed the like doing these mini things. Like I'm doing Connolly's 10-minute EMOM and just building that up and I love it. Like for those who don't know, Mike Connolly, the other owner, he's been doing for a while. Essentially, you just set a 10-minute timer. At the top of each minute, you kind of pick a number and you try to hit it every minute. And just keep upping your volume each time as you go and trying to get more reps in that 10-minute window. So the 10-minute window doesn't change. You're just going to try to do more reps each minute as you build up your strength and endurance. And like, it's awesome, man. Nothing crazy, nothing fancy.
We've been doing it since January. He's up to doing like 20 some.
Yeah, he had to split it to doing it on every 30 seconds just because he had like so much volume.
It's crazy.
What a son of a, that man.
Just meat. He's just big old.
Pretty much.
And then like he's got that head that like he has to hold.
Well, that's my question is like, how does he keep that thing off the floor? You know what I'm saying?
Getting real strong.
It's like a bobblehead.
Yeah. People are like, oh man, Mike, like such a tough looking guy with such a thick neck. It's like, no, that's like physiologically necessary to keep his head on. Like, that's not, oh, he's tough, thick neck. Like, no. Any less, and that man doesn't function as a human.
It's like those rocks that you see like out west, like the erosion makes it like, shit like it's balanced there, but really it's
like, how is that possible?
It's amazing.
How do I say the name of the individual whose picture kind of looks like Neo from The Matrix, and that is not a diss right now, right? How do I pronounce that? See that picture? It's like is it just Cataline?
Cataline.
Okay, cool. I like because I saw the accent thing on top, and I was like, how do I? Okay, Cataline. That's how you say it. All right.
Yeah, he's one of my teammates, and
cool.
in Romania we have this accent, and it's like an
Okay, because I know like there's the little dots for Spanish, and then there's certain dots for German, so that's cool.
Yeah, it's just not, it's not an A, it's an
All right. You learn something new every day. Thank you.
You just demonstrated how ingrained with Hick Central Pennsylvania DNA you really are, Wes.
Dude, I didn't even catch that. But I realized that.
How do you say that name there? What's that? You got.
It's not proper English. That's okay.
Oh my God.
So if you didn't know, we're from Romania, and the Romanian deadlifts were invented by one of us.
By you?
Yeah, by me personally.
I saw that on some website.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Actually, Todd, when Jim Dolan, he went to Romania for work recently, he came back, he's like, didn't see a single deadlift.
That's funny. That is funny stuff, man. What else we need to do today, guys? What else we need to work on? What do we need to talk about? We got time.
I'm just here for Tudor's last question.
Yeah, I know it's gonna come. We gotta wait. It'll come at some point. It's 3:33, so he's still waiting. So
it's Tudor time.
Yeah.
It was enough for today.
Okay. All right. Cool. Hey, what would be helpful going forward on these calls, guys? Like, what are some things that you'd like to discuss or hear about, or people that you might like to hear from? I'm sure we can make that happen as well. So, what are some of the things that you would like? If you don't feel comfortable talking or don't want to talk yet or don't have an idea, you can just email me too. My email is todd@beyondstrengthsperformance.com. And I'm doing my best to make those things happen.
Some of my favorite Q&As have been with Doug, so I don't know if we can bring him back somehow.
Kajichin?
Yeah, he's the man.
I'm sure we can get Doug. I'll talk to Doug and see if he wants to come. So,
You think we could get Ellen? I would like Ellen.
we'll get Ellen. I'll go after her. I'll see if I can get Ellen.
I'd like Ellen. That would be actually quite outstanding.
That'd be amazing.
That's my challenge to you.
Like Ellen DeGeneres, Ellen? Like,
yeah.
like
Who else?
Hair? Hold on.
There's only one Ellen.
I would take a swing at that. I don't even know how many people you'd have to go through to get her.
I feel like there's got to be like a 6 degrees of separation. Like we know someone who knows someone.
I bet I know exactly who we know that knows somebody. I know exactly who we know. I don't know if we can make it happen, but I'll try. I tried to get Henry Rollins, for Christ's sake. Why not try to get Ellen?
That dude isn't going to do anything.
I know.
What was the response for Henry Rollins?
There was no response, sir.
But if you ever read his stuff, like, or listen to him on like Joe Rogan, I think is actually, I was saying read, but like listen to Joe Rogan episode with him where like that dude just sits at home and reads and listens to records and does not interact with people. His interaction is his stand-up, but in terms of like authentic like conversation, like he's not a fan.
Yeah, he isn't. He also said he responds to everyone, and I'll tell you what, he never responded to me. So. Well, think about it. Send me an email. We'll figure it out. If you guys don't have anything else for today, we're just going to take Tudor's last question, and then I'll go on with our days. Go ahead, Tudor. We're waiting for you. You have a question. I know you do.
Okay, if it's a necessity.
Yep.
Who was that guy that asks you each day, how are you going to live today? That prehistorical Greek guy.
Oh, that's Marcus Aurelius.
Marcus Aurelius, okay, Roman.
He was in Gladiator. Did you know that?
You're such an idiot. All right.
And why did you choose him?
Why him? Like I said, I mean, there's some Stoic philosophy. If there's a Stoic philosopher that I like, it's him. And I've read he has a book. They called it the Meditations. My favorite translation is called the Emperor's Handbook. I don't remember exactly who translated it, but yeah, I've always liked his brand of Stoic philosophy. So, and I just thought that was a poignant picture to include for that, because it was like, those were the kind of questions that he would ask himself. So that's why.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome, man.
Do you meditate, Todd?
I breathe. I do box breathing. Are you familiar with box breathing? So I'll do box breathing, and I'll do Wim Hof's breathing sometimes too. I do both of those things. So, but to sit, I'll be honest with you. I think a lot of times, I think there's a lot of different ways to get that done. Like I was saying, like sometimes playing the guitar, sometimes it's lifting. Like hunting is a meditation for me. Fly fishing, because there's a rhythm to the way that you cast. Like all of those kind of things. I don't think there's I think we get pushed into boxes with that kind of stuff, and I think it's bullshit. Like if you listen to some of like Alan Watts and his philosophy on meditation, those kind of things. He's like, if you're like trying to meditate, to make yourself meditate, to do something so you can meditate because you think it's going to give you something because you meditate, you're missing the point. So it's like, what are you going to do that like puts you in the present moment? And I think that that's the important thing. So there's my diatribe.
What gets you in flow?
Yeah, there you go. Why don't we call it a day, folks? What do you say? I appreciate you guys.